My friends and I started a fight between two high schools.
That's one of my favorite stories from high school. We were in this phase of stealing yard signs. Ended up starting a fight between two entire counties in Kentucky from taking these yard signs that we didn't know were going to be given out after this high school graduated our senior year. Okay.
We start picking the signs up and just chucking them. We're ripping them out of the ground, throwing them around. Some of them we're taking and keeping because they had like a funny name that we were gonna, put in someone else's yard. So we were like just tearing the shit out of these signs.
The best part about it is originally it was totally naive, right? Like we didn't even know what was going on until Twitter and Facebook started blowing up a few days later. So me and my buddies just never said anything. And like to this day, like we would run into kids that went to those two high schools when we were in college and stuff. You would hear stories about it. It was like folklore shit for us because 4 or 5 years later we're hearing stuff and we would tell people like, oh yeah, like that was us.
We have no idea that these signs are going to be taken home by these seniors. Like this is like a traditional thing for this high school. These signs are really valued. They're graduating inside, like their graduation ceremony is taking place inside while we're taking these signs and chucking them all over the place, okay?
So one of my favorite stories from high school could all be a real story or movie script. But the most legendary part of that story that I never got to tell, a few days later, we're meeting up at my buddy's house who lived by the high school that we messed with, and we're heading out to go to this bridge jump, and we're all riding in my buddy's 7.5's SUV. We'll call him 7.5 for the sake of the story. We are turning onto a 2-lane highway, 4-way intersection in broad daylight, and there was like 10 signs over at this high school that we didn't get. We're all talking like, dude, that was so funny because we can't. Every time we passed the high school, we would all just die laughing because like this is still this at this time. It's like an ongoing thing. Like these two high schools are in a turf war, and the parents are arguing, alumni are arguing. Like I said, we created this whole beef between these two schools from this county in Kentucky. They were already crosstown rivals, and we just literally poured gasoline on an existing fire without even realizing it until days later.
The next day, we're looking on Twitter, because that was that era, right? Where Twitter and Instagram started to get big. So social media is blowing up for this high school. They're like, what a disgrace that someone would tear up our graduation signs. Just so disrespectful, just the meanest, most vindictive thing. And it's not just kids. Like, kids are going at each other on Twitter, but parents are on Facebook, like, clapping off on each other, like, making accusations towards other high schools.
We're all joking around like, man, if only we'd have got those last 10 signs, right? 6 or 7 signs max. We're like, if only we could have got those last few handful of signs, then it would have been really funny. Because his dad chased us away.
All of a sudden, you hear this dad just like, hey, what the hell? And we're like, oh shit, oh shit.
Because they were having graduation inside when we took these signs. We didn't even know that. As the light changes, 7.5, without saying anything to any of us, drives straight across this 4-way intersection onto the grass and runs over the last 5 or 6 signs and then turns back onto the highway. We go to the bridge jump. We all were just like in tears, like hysterically laughing because we're like, oh my God, like it's broad daylight. Like, look around, like, there's other cars driving around, just like looking at this car up in the grass running over these signs and then hops back on the highway and we dip. But when I tell you that was the hardest, I don't know if anyone has ever had those situations where like nobody can even talk because you're laughing so hard. And the whole time, like 7.5 did it to make us laugh, right? But you can tell how nervous he is. He's like, "Hey, guys, hey, guys, hey, guys, hey, guys," and you can hear like the yard signs hitting the bottom of the car, and the boop, boop, but we're back on the 2-lane highway. That was one of the funniest things I've ever experienced in my life, and honestly, like that's something that I know I've said on here all the time. But like 7.5 is one of my best friends who like I miss that kid, right? Like we don't get to see each other as much. We both live we just don't get to see each other as much. And it's like when we do run into each other or we hang out with those friends from high school, like me and those 3 buddies that I always used to run around with, me and my group of friends from high school, like I can't describe that, right? Because I know we live in a society of like as you grow up, you need to develop and create new friends, right? And like upgrade your circle and things like that. And I get that to a certain degree, but also like to me, the sign of a true friend is like me and those buddies from high school. Every time we get together, it's the same laughs and the same type of interactions, right? Like, do the conversations change and the things that we're doing, have they grown with our age? Absolutely. But the laughs, the interactions, the personalities are all still the same when we get together and catch up or hang out or whatever it is that we're doing. And I just think I think that's a valuable thing. And don't get me wrong, like I do miss my friends from high school. I wish we could hang out more and stuff, but as you get older, your lives change and evolve, and that's just part of, we're all kind of in different places in life, and we don't get to hang out as much as we used to, and that's just part of getting old. And one of the biggest reasons I say that is I think a lot of my friends from high school, and I totally understand, right? Like from a professionalism standpoint, or just the risk of coming on my podcast, like that's always been something that they're not open to, and I get that, right? But also for me, like the biggest thing that I love about social media and why I got into it is like this is all a time capsule for me. So whether it was a story from high school, college, or any age, like at some point when I'm dead and gone, I hope that those stories are still circulating for somebody to hear and see and hopefully get a laugh about. And I'm not encouraging degeneracy or anything, but my biggest thing is, especially from my high school stories, is like me and my buddies were always just trying to make each other laugh, and that unintentionally got us into a lot of crazy situations growing up. But I think that's a healthy high school experience, and for me and my friends, like we caused so much, we did cause so much havoc, and it was all like completely unintentional because we would walk into these environments or situations where there was some type of beef or situation already taking place around us that we weren't even aware of. We're just going to do something stupid and hopefully make each other laugh, and then it always blew up into this crazy event. So, I don't know why. Maybe that was God's way of telling us to be cautious and try to teach us our lesson or something. I don't know, but I just anyone who's high school, college age, just be thankful if you've got a good set of friends and you guys get to make a lot of memories and laughs. Like those things are special, and it is such a. It seems like you have forever, but life in general, it's so short. And for me, I don't look at it as something like I'm always dwelling in the past or wish I could go back in time, but like those are always laughs and memories that I'll have. Instead of over evaluating everything you've ever done in life and regretting things, like I'm a big believer in just living a moment. Like here, you're gonna make some mistakes, you live and learn, but like for the most part, most of those memories that you made growing up as a kid, instead of beating yourself up and being hard on yourself, or just be able to look back on and laugh, because even if they seem like these big significant events in the moment, like nothing in life is ever that important. And event wise, I feel like nothing in life is ever permanent or that important. But friends and relationships that you get to make through those phases of life, that's what really matters. And I think it's just cool as you get older, you get to really see who the true, genuine relationships in your life were as time passes. Regardless of how many days, months, years pass, like there's certain friends that like when I see them, we pick up right where we were when we were hanging out every day. And I just think that's a special trait. I think it's a sign of genuineness and authenticity within people. And it's something that's just it's always been a huge appeal to me on who I spend my time with and who I hang out with. It's like no matter how much in our lives have changed or how much we've changed or developed as people, the bond that we have as friends, like we're able to pick up and communicate and joke around and be just like we were when we were in high school, hanging out every day. And I think that's a special trait. So 7-5, especially to you, brother. I miss you a lot. Great person. You know who you are. One of the funniest people I've ever met. We just recently got married, so super happy for him. His wife's a phenomenal person. They're both just the best. And like I said, man, that's the cool part when you get to know somebody for that long. You don't realize, like, we're 27 now. We're 27, 28 years old. We've known each other since literally 14, 15 years old. So for over half of our lives, we've known each other, and when you get to see your friends just continue to grow and whatever it is, career, relationship, just as a person, like that stuff, it's just cool to see. And so those guys are my day one brothers for life. I know they're always welcome. My door's always open. My number's always there if they need me. And hopefully someday as we continue to get older, even if it's off screen, just their voices, I hope to get them on the podcast someday. And I don't know how many of our stories they remember. I don't know why I have the memories that I do, but those guys are definitely a huge part of it, and I'll always be thankful for them. And I hope, like I said, just that everybody out there gets to have friends like that. So that's today's episode, and we'll be back with more stories soon. Talk to Tom. Taking shots by the lake till I can't even breathe no more, see no more. I was riding around town thinking to myself, is it gonna get easier? I'll be up and away up the street and big, but I can't even breathe no more.
to.